Hey everybody, Jake here and welcome to the hobby. We are doing an AMA today. You guys sent in hundreds of questions and I'm going to do my best to dodge every last one of them. We have a long list to go through, so I'm going to do my best to answer these. Starting off right at the top with Gregory, who asks, why is it that a sealed XY Evolutions booster box sells for upward of $1,000 when you can get a complete set of XY Evolutions cards for cheaper? Big part of it just comes down to rarity. Sealed products will always increase in value long term because more and more of them are open. If there is demand in the hobby and there's less of products, then they will naturally increase in value. That's the same reason why a sealed copy of Pokemon Blue for the Game Boy is now worth thousands of dollars because there aren't that many sealed copy of Pokemon Blue for the Game Boy anymore. Those are really hard to come by, even though you can still find open cartridges of Pokemon Blue very easily on the open market. The sealed copies are very expensive. That's why XY Evolution is going up in value, because there aren't that many sealed copies of the booster boxes left on the open market. Next up, we have Joseph Stump, who asks, do you think Pokemon is jamming sets every month basically down our throat due to the hype of Pokemon from last year? It feels like when I start to collect from a set, it's already off the shelves. I understand that feeling, Joseph, very well. I wouldn't say that we got that many sets this year. We got one extra set compared to a normal year. On a normal given year, you can expect 5 new Pokemon card set. This year we got 6, with Celebrations being our unique set of the year. I wouldn't really say that Pokemon is jamming sets this year specifically, and a big part of that is because they've planned these sets years out in advance. It's not like they thought of Celebrations 2 months ago. Celebrations has probably been fully thought out 2 years ago. They knew what they were doing with Celebrations well in advance. So that's the most important thing. And the second important thing is we didn't get that many new sets this year compared to a normal year. And we sort of expected 6 sets this year. Next year, I'm only expecting 5 sets, so it won't be as crazy as the 25th anniversary. Next up, we have Z-Bat, who asks, do you review the market as a whole? Could I review the whole entire market as a whole regarding singles versus sealed products? Which are better to buy and which are better to wait to buy long term? That's going to be hard. So it really just comes down to your risk tolerance. So sealed products always continue to climb slowly over time. Sealed products is usually the best if you are looking for something that is really sturdy long term. If you're willing to take some risks, then the single market is very risky. There are plenty of singles that could jump up in value significantly over the next couple of years if there is an increase in popularity. But if you're looking for something safer, then sealed products is usually the way to go. I usually wait 2 years before I start picking up new sealed products. It just gives it a little bit of time so that I know for sure that the market has died down in terms of hype, and there probably won't be any risk of new reprints after 2 years time. So Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates is probably a great set to start picking up right now if you're looking for products, because Hidden Fates unlikely to be reprinted and is going to only go up in value just because it's just a fantastic set. Next up, we have Suzer808, who asks, hey Jake, what Pokemon cards do you feel are underrated right now for both vintage and modern sets? Oh man, that's a tough one. I haven't done an underrated, overrated video or anything like that in a very long time, and there's a big reason why I haven't done a video on underrated Pokemon cards. It's because there really aren't any underrated Pokemon cards right now. The market is so toned in on what is hot right now that there's just no reason for me to do a video like that, because as soon as something goes out onto the market, everyone already knows about it, everyone's already hyped about it, everyone already know what is hot, what's not hot. It's all so clear and set in stone right now that it's really tricky for me to find sweet spots of anything that's not being looked at, because everything is being looked at under a microscope right now when it comes to the hobby. Every single card that could be valuable or is underrated even in the slightest bit right now is being picked up. So there really aren't anything that is really underrated right now. I would love to do a video in the future, and there might come a time when there are cards out there that I think are fantastic and people are just missing, but that just isn't the case right now. Next up, we have John Wing, who asks, hey Jake, if you have a girlfriend, does she like the hobby or help? If you don't, Does that play a factor on who you date? So I do have a girlfriend. We've been dating for 4 years now, and she does enjoy the fact that I collect Pokemon cards is sort of frivolous to her. She enjoys the hobby. We play Pokemon trading card game every now and again. But in general, the hobby is something that I'm into. I'm into Pokemon collecting. She's into other stuff. She has her own hobbies, and that's completely fine. And you really should not factor whether someone collects Pokemon cards or not into your dating life. That's kind of frivolous. It's more of something that's exterior, right? You need to go down deeper levels if you wanted to date someone long term. That's just not something that's important if you're really dating someone long term. They should really just appreciate that you're into something. Next, we have Rob, who asked, in your opinion, will the Celebrations Classic reprints increase or decrease the value of the original cards? Perhaps people will like their Classic pull and want to collect the whole original vintage set. You got it. So Wizard of the Coast has actually done a lot of research onto how reprints impact the vintage market. And what their research has shown is that reprints actually do help the vintage market marginally. It's a small help, but it does help. What this pretty much means is that if you have an original copy of Charizard or Blastoise, I would not really worry about the value of those cards dropping. Just because there is a new reprint of Charizard, I don't expect a first edition base set Charizard to suddenly just drop off the planet in terms of value. That's not going to be happening. A lot of people who collect these cards are going to return to the hobby, and the ones that do are going to somehow go back to those vintage cards every now and again. So there will be a small increase in the value of the vintage versions of these cards, but it's not going to be a significant shake no matter how you look at it. Next, we have Adam, who asks, what pack under $15 should I buy or invest in right now? Great question. I was just talking about it a little bit earlier, but I think a good set to collect right now would be Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates just passed its 2 years anniversary. It's not going to be reprinted anytime soon or ever again. So I think it's a great time to pick up Hidden Fates right now. It's a strong point right now for Hidden Fates. If you're looking for something that's a bit newer, you're going to have to take more risk. You can pick up Vivid Voltage or Evolving Skies or any of those more current sets, but they're likely to be reprinted just because they're still very new. They're still in the TCG standard format, and these are cards that the Pokemon Company, if they see rising in price, they're likely to press the reprint button very easily. Scrolling down my list of questions, we now have Paul, who asks, when do you think will be the best time to pick up Celebrations in terms of waiting for the initial hype to go down? So right now, the time frame that I have to pick up Celebrations products is 6 months. I'm gonna wait till 6 months after release before I even think about picking up more Celebrations products for the long term. And some people out there are going to be freaking out because they're saying 6 months is way too long, and it really isn't. 6 months is not that long out. 6 months pretty much means March of next year is when I'm going to be looking at picking up Celebrations products long term. That's pretty much the end of wave 3 and around wave 4. That's pretty much when I expect most people are still going to be into Celebrations, but the hype is pretty much gone. All the luster is gone. All the magic is gone. People just look at those cards as cards nowadays. So that's when I want to pick up Celebrations, is 6 months from now. And even then, it might still be way too soon because Celebrations might get more products even down the line. Most people will say, well, it's the 25th anniversary. Why would Pokemon print 25th anniversary on the 26th year? Well, guess what? Pokemon can do that. There's no rules. There's no rules saying they can't do that. They can do it if it'll make them money. And if it'll make them money, they'll do it. That's all there is to it. There's no rules with it. I don't know why people think it's so weird. Next up, we have Kelvin Lay, who asks, you talked about how much premium wouldn't be reprinted today, but Pokemon Center had another wave of Marnie boxes. Could this be a continuation for premium boxes in the future? And he's pretty much asking, does that mean more premium products will be reprinted in the future? I don't know if the Marnie boxes were truly reprinted. I think that's just another wave. I mean, the Marnie boxes just came out 1 or 2 months ago. So I'm not surprised that there's another wave of products. Most of these products are all just one print run. They just sent them out in multiple waves just because they can't get it all at once because of logistically it's impossible right now with how messed up the world is. But I don't think it's a reprint. I think in general, if a product has the word premium in it, it usually does not get reprinted. That doesn't mean it never gets reprint. It's just a nice rule to look at, and it's just another factor for you guys to notice. It doesn't mean the Pokemon company can't reprint premium product. It just means they usually do not. We have Clayton who asks, will the grading companies keep their prices high, and is it even worth it? No, I think grading companies' prices will go down simply due to competition. If PSA sets their grading prices at 20 bucks, then CGC will probably set theirs at 18 to compete, and then BGS will set theirs at 15, and then PSA will have to do 12 and then 10. So the grading companies will have to compete with each other in terms of prices. That's why we have multiple different grading companies. It's fantastic. They compete with each other and they lower their prices for us. So I think long-term prices for grading will go down. I don't know if they'll ever go down to as cheap as they used to be. Inflation is a major issue right now. I think I'll be happy with slabs costing under $15. I think $15 is a good point per graded Pokemon card right now. Next, we have Sam who asks, I know you said you play the TCG. What deck are you currently playing right now and plan to play in the future for this rotation? Currently, I'm playing a homebrew Glaceon V Max deck, and it's doing really well. It uses the Sobble support lineup as well as Suicune V, and it's really strong. It pretty much beats so many other decks immediately. It beats other decks. Any deck that runs VMAX Pokemon cards only, it'll beat. It'll beat every single other VMAX, which is why Glaceon is really strong right now, but most people don't know about it. It's currently my home brew. There's so many decks that it instantly beat, right? Like Dragapult VMAX, like Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX, like Single Strike Urshifu VMAX. Any of these VMAX deck, it instantly beats, and the decks that it don't instantly beat, it's not weak against. It has like a 50-50 matchup versus a lot of other decks. It has no weak point right now, which is really strong and why I'm currently running Glaceon VMAX. Next up, we have White Charisma who asks, appreciate the quality content, wondering how you're able to juggle your job and YouTube. I used to juggle a master's degree too. I was taking graduate level classes at night while I was also doing YouTube videos for the longest time until I graduated a couple of months ago. How did I juggle all of it? I don't know. You just make time. You make time for whatever you love. So you're probably having time right now where you're playing video games, playing with your pets, enjoying your family, hanging out with your friends, whatever it is, you're making time for it. So if you have something that you're really passionate about it, you'll make time for it one way or another. This weekend, I'm actually taking off time from right in front of celebrations just to go with my girlfriend to a farm and pick apples, because I think that would just be a fun holiday for us. So I do make time whenever I can. If you're passionate about something, you'll make time for it. I'm not worried about that. Next up, we got Ryan who asks, howdy Jake, question for ya. What's your favorite common card of all time? Oof. Dude, there are so many common cards out there I could pick from. I think my current favorite common card has to be the original base set Pikachu. I mean, like, that card just brings me back. That is Pikachu in his original form. Like, if you look at Pikachu in the base artwork, he is so fat and round. How does he even walk? How does he even do anything? It's like a completely different Pikachu compared to how he looks nowadays, which is much more thin. The design is very different. Pikachu nowadays looks like it's agile. Pikachu can actually move. So the original Pikachu artwork is fantastic. It's so goofy what they have done to him over the years. It's really interesting to see the artwork just change with time. Next up, we got Brett Butler who asks, hi Jake, will you ever do collab with other Poketubers, or is that something you're not interested in? I'm interested in it. I'm down for it. A lot of times I don't like to ride on other people's parade, or I don't like to collaborate, just because it takes up a lot of time. Collaborations can sometimes take a brutal amount of time to get through. I have another collab coming up with Leonhardt in like 2 months or something like that for a charity auction of his, or a charity stream of his, which I'm totally down for. I really appreciate when people are doing charity, and I love stuff like that, so I'm happy to help out Mr. Leonhardt. Next up, we got Pokemenace, who asked, instead of trainer cards in Pokemon, I think they should include Poketuber full art cards. What are your thoughts on that? I think Pokemon should include Poketubers like yourself, who wouldn't want a full art TwicebakedJake card or a Pokeref and so many other cards. You know, like, I'm down for the idea. I think the biggest issue is that there's a lot of liability on Pokemon's side. The biggest concern is, like, what if I turn out to be a serial murderer? Would that not hurt the Pokemon image to have a bunch of cards exist with my name and face on it? So, like, that's an extreme scenario, but that's a realistic concern that the Pokemon company has to consider. The biggest part why they don't do collaborations like this is because it's really risky if they have their name and image tied to another channel. Final questions already. Wow, that was fast. Maybe I should do more. We got Miss Ditto Decks, who asks, what inspired me to get into Pokemon collecting and making videos about it? So, a lot. There's a lot that inspired me to bring me to this point. A big part of it was that Pokemon was one of the first game I ever played. I remember spending 6-8 hours a day playing the original like Pokemon game on the Game Boy, Pokemon Silver, Pokemon Blue. I was playing those games for hours, catching every Pokemon, beating every trainer again and again. I was doing it repeatedly. After I beat the Elite Four, I would reset my game and just play it over the exact same way. I wouldn't even change anything. I played it the exact same way. So that's really how I got started. A big reason why I started my channel was because no one else was doing content like I was. And that sounds weird, but it was true. At the time, I really wanted to be enthused or be enthusiastic or hyped about a bunch of cards that were coming out, like the Scream promos, like Mario Pikachu. And no one else was really doing content like that. No one else was hyping up these cards or talking about like the investing side of the hobby, which I'm really interested in, but no one else was doing it. There were a bunch of people opening up Pokemon cards, and I really appreciate that, but people really weren't discussing the content the way I was, and I wanted to discuss this content with other people. I wanted other people that I could talk about this content with, and no one else was doing it, so that's why I pretty much started my channel. And nowadays, there's like 100 people doing the same thing I am, so it's all blown up. It is what it is, and that's pretty much it for today's Q&A video. If you guys have any additional questions, leave it on the comment section of this video and I'll be happy to answer them. I'll probably go back to the Q&A post and I'll probably reply to a bunch of you guys there as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.